Behind the dazzling lights of the West End and the glamorous veneer of British television lay a fiercely guarded secret. The public adored these iconic women as the absolute epitome of grace. Yet beyond the flashing cameras of Fleet Street, a darker dynamic unfolded. For an ambitious young gentleman seeking a breakthrough from the 1950s to the new millennium, patronage often demanded a compromised devotion and a deeply personal toll. Subscribe to our channel and leave a comment below as we unveil the hidden truths of stardom. Vivien Leigh. Ascending to the pinnacle of the British stage and the silver screen, she possessed an ethereal beauty that captivated millions. Adored by the public as the quintessential English rose and a formidable titan of classical theatre, her prestigious name on any West End marquee guaranteed sold-out performances for many consecutive months. Theatre-goers wept openly at her masterful portrayals of tragic heroines, genuinely believing her soul to be as fragile and remarkably pure as the iconic characters she brought to life under the blinding theatrical spotlights. Behind the heavy velvet curtains, however, a vastly different reality dictated the strict terms of engagement for ascending talents. For incredibly handsome young gentlemen desperately seeking their vital breakthrough in major productions, her highly influential patronage was considered a coveted yet uniquely perilous prize. Securing a prominent supporting role opposite this powerful leading lady required substantially more than a traditionally flawless audition. Hushed whispers constantly echoed through dimly lit dressing rooms that to win her essential professional favor, a rising actor had to submit entirely to her relentless demands for profound, intimate companionship. The immense psychological tension frequently reached an unbearable boiling point during grueling rehearsal periods for high-stakes stage plays. Should an ambitious, youthful co-star bravely attempt to establish standard professional boundaries or resist her intensely aggressive romantic advances, her retaliation was invariably swift and devastatingly public. During one notorious production in the late 1950s, she systematically humiliated a reluctant young leading man before the entire stunned cast and crew, demanding his immediate dismissal from the broadcasting network. Fleet Street journalists constantly circled the main stage doors like starved predators, acutely sensing the palpable discomfort and eagerly capturing the visibly strained expressions of her captive professional colleagues. Everyone within the tight-knit dramatic community silently understood the dreadful price of her professional elevation, yet nobody dared to publicly challenge the reigning queen of the metropolitan theatre scene. The suffocating atmosphere transformed joyous artistic collaborations into tense survival exercises for attractive young male performers caught in her snare. Ultimately, this tyrannical approach to both artistic dominance and romantic conquest inflicted severe damage upon her own illustrious historical legacy. The constant necessity to control and emotionally consume the vibrant youth around her gradually alienated her most loyal directors and profoundly isolated her within the artistic industry she had once ruled. Many of the young men she ruthlessly manipulated eventually abandoned the acting profession entirely, their creative spirits permanently broken by the unexpectedly cruel machinery of fame and power. Diana Dors. Ascending to unparalleled national adoration as the ultimate blonde bombshell of the British cinema, she radiated a natural glamour that easily rivaled any overseas counterpart. Millions of loyal fans viewed her as a deeply lovable national treasure, celebrating her vibrant television appearances and spectacular film premieres. Her dazzling smile and carefree public persona masked a fiercely calculated approach to the brutal entertainment industry. The silver screen lit up whenever she appeared, projecting an image of pure joy that completely enchanted the post-war public. Away from the adoring crowds and the popping flashbulbs of Fleet Street photographers, a significantly darker method of operation governed her opulent private domain. For an aspiring young male actor desperate to secure a lucrative studio contract, gaining entry into her inner circle was considered essential. However, such valuable patronage carried an exceptionally heavy and intensely personal condition. Whispered warnings circulated throughout major broadcasting networks that professional advancement required a total surrender to her uncompromising desire for passionate romantic entanglement. The immense pressure exerted upon these inexperienced gentlemen frequently manifested in devastating ways during highly publicized filming schedules. Whenever an ambitious young co-star attempted to politely decline her forceful nighttime invitations, the atmosphere on the studio floor would instantly turn freezing cold. During the production of a major 1970s television special, her blistering fury towards a resistant supporting actor brought the entire set to a complete standstill. Veteran producers nervously looked away as she systematically dismantled the young man's fragile confidence. This pervasive unease amongst her professional colleagues became an unacknowledged reality within the secretive corridors of the national broadcasting networks. Frightened casting directors quietly accepted that refusing her personal demands meant instantaneous professional exile for any rising male talent. While the popular press constantly hunted for sensational headlines regarding her luxurious lifestyle, they deliberately ignored the visible distress of the remarkably handsome but troubled young companions who trailed silently behind her at extravagant industry galas. They were trapped in a gilded cage. Ultimately, this relentless pursuit of absolute dominance over her younger colleagues left a complex and deeply conflicted historical legacy. Although she maintained her formidable status as an iconic figure until she tragically passed away, the bitter trail of broken careers she left in her wake remained a closely guarded industry secret. The very same ruthless mechanisms she employed to conquer the notoriously difficult entertainment world eventually alienated those who genuinely cared for her. Many of her former youthful protégés vanished completely from the public eye. Coral Browne, commanding the grand stages of the West End with an imperious elegance, she was universally celebrated as a formidable theatrical force. Audiences flocked to witness her deliver blistering performances, resonating with sophisticated charm and razor-sharp wit. To the adoring public, she represented the absolute pinnacle of aristocratic glamour, effortlessly dominating the vibrant London artistic scene. Her majestic presence across the 1950s and 1960s cemented a polished public image that demanded complete respect from critics and casual theatre-goers alike. Beneath this cultivated veneer of theatrical royalty, a remarkably demanding dynamic operated within the secretive backstage corridors. For handsome young gentlemen desperately attempting to navigate the unforgiving landscape of the British acting profession, drawing her powerful attention was a profound curse. Establishing a firm foothold in her prestigious touring companies heavily relied upon satisfying her relentless appetite for highly devoted romantic companionship. It was quietly acknowledged that refusing to participate in these turbulent romances would inevitably result in sudden and devastating career stagnation. The suffocating weight of her personal expectations frequently erupted into intensely uncomfortable spectacles during crucial production rehearsals. Whenever a newly cast youthful leading man courageously attempted to maintain strict professional boundaries against her forceful propositions, the resulting tension could entirely derail a major theatrical undertaking. During a notoriously troubled run in the late 1960s, her escalating frustration with an unyielding male co-star culminated in a spectacularly aggressive dressing down before the silent stage crew. Gossip columnists representing the relentless Fleet Street establishment constantly hovered around her dressing room door, sensing the toxic atmosphere radiating from her chosen male companions. Despite the overwhelming evidence of severe emotional distress permanently etched across the faces of these trapped young actors, the broader broadcasting network deliberately chose to look the other way. Prominent casting directors remained terrified of crossing the reigning monarch of the metropolitan stage, effectively silencing any desperate complaints raised by her exploited protégés. Consequently, the enduring legacy she left behind became hopelessly intertwined with the quiet devastation of the promising young men she callously used and subsequently discarded. Her insatiable need to constantly exert absolute dominion over vulnerable rising stars ultimately transformed her golden twilight years into a period of profound artistic isolation. While the history books record her spectacular dramatic triumphs on the silver screen, the hidden reality remains stained by a long trail of shattered creative spirits who desperately fled her theatrical empire. Hermione Baddeley. Rising to spectacular prominence across the West End, she embodied the brilliantly eccentric spirit of British theatrical tradition. Audiences adored her boisterous comedic timing and deeply moving dramatic turns that consistently dominated the mid-20th century stage. Her highly celebrated television appearances throughout the 1960s solidified her untouchable status. To the general public, she was the charismatic darling of the silver screen, radiating an infectious charm that effortlessly conquered domestic audiences with every single performance. Beyond the safety of the glaring studio lights, a drastically different code of conduct governed her fiercely protected professional territory. For handsome young gentlemen urgently seeking their foundational roles, catching her discerning eye was an incredibly dangerous proposition. Establishing a meaningful foothold in her prestigious productions came with a rigidly enforced expectation of intense intimate companionship. Aspiring male talents quickly learned that rejecting her forceful romantic overtures guaranteed immediate exclusion from the national acting circuit. The crushing psychological weight of these mandatory turbulent romances constantly threatened to completely derail highly anticipated artistic endeavors. Whenever a brave, youthful co-star dared to establish boundaries against her persistent demands, her explosive retaliation would mercilessly disrupt the filming schedule. During the chaotic production of a major 1970s period drama, she aggressively humiliated a terrified young supporting actor in front of the paralyzed crew. Veteran directors watched in horror as she vindictively dismantled his emerging career. Relentless reporters from Fleet Street permanently camped outside her lavish residence, eagerly hunting for any visible confirmation of the unhappy young men trapped within her glamorous orbit. The broader broadcasting network deliberately remained entirely blind to the obvious distress consuming her rotating cast of youthful protégés. Colleagues within the tight-knit community silently witnessed the devastating emotional toll extracted from these male performers, yet absolute terror of her immense industry influence prevented anyone from speaking out to the press. Eventually, her compulsion to forcefully subjugate the promising youth of the British stage cast a terribly dark shadow over her twilight years. Her spectacular professional achievements became intrinsically linked with the broken careers of the young gentlemen she systematically destroyed for her own gratification. Before she tragically passed away, the theatrical establishment she once ruled completely isolated her, leaving her totally devoid of genuine affection. The archives may praise her brilliance, but the hidden truth remains a chilling testament to unchecked power. Margaret Leighton. Gracing the prestigious stages of the British theatrical landscape, she projected an image of exquisite vulnerability. Audiences across the nation were spellbound by her towering performances within the classical repertoire and her successful ventures onto the silver screen. Her elegant demeanor made her an absolute darling of the 20th century art scene. To the casual observer, she was the beautiful embodiment of tragic romance and unparalleled dramatic excellence that defined the golden era of the national broadcasting network. Operating far away from the admiring gaze of the public, a demanding power structure defined her professional interactions. For handsome young gentlemen desperately attempting to establish their careers in the West End, securing her vital endorsement carried a high personal cost. It was an acknowledged rule among casting directors that working alongside this formidable leading lady required absolute submission to her relentless desire for intimate companionship. Rejecting her forceful propositions guaranteed that a promising male talent would be permanently blacklisted from all major venues. The immense psychological burden of maintaining these turbulent romances frequently transformed creative spaces into hostile battlegrounds. Whenever an ambitious youthful co-star valiantly attempted to enforce basic professional boundaries, her retaliatory measures were swift and utterly devastating. During the rehearsal period of a major 1960s stage revival, her blistering frustration with a reluctant young actor brought the entire production to a grinding halt. Experienced stage managers and fellow cast members stared at the floor in terrified silence as she ruthlessly mocked his acting abilities before the crew. Relentless correspondents from Fleet Street prowled the alleyways near the stage doors, acutely aware of the palpable misery radiating from her rotating cast of youthful companions. Despite the visible emotional distress permanently etched onto the faces of these exploited young gentlemen, broadcasting network executives deliberately chose absolute ignorance. The theatrical community collectively witnessed the destruction of these emerging performers, yet the overwhelming fear of her retaliatory influence ensured nobody spoke a word of truth to the ruthless gossip columnists. Ultimately, this insatiable compulsion to forcefully dominate the younger generation of British actors left an indelible stain upon her magnificent artistic legacy. The relentless pursuit of professional control through mandated affection severely isolated her during the twilight of her illustrious career. While historical records continue to praise her undeniable brilliance beneath the theatrical spotlights, the unspoken reality remains a tragedy of shattered aspirations. Many of the young men she callously manipulated abandoned their artistic dreams entirely, traumatized by the dark machinery of fame. Jill Bennett. Commanding the grandest stages of the British theatrical landscape, she projected a deeply compelling image of raw emotional power. Audiences across the country were utterly mesmerized by her fiercely intelligent performances and her highly acclaimed appearances on the silver screen. Her sharp features and undeniable presence made her a fascinating figure of the 20th century art scene. To the casual observer, she was a magnificent dramatic force who effortlessly conquered the West End and dominated the national broadcasting network with her unparalleled theatrical brilliance. Operating far away from the admiring gaze of the theatergoers, a dangerously volatile dynamic defined her professional interactions behind the heavy velvet curtains. For handsome young gentlemen desperately attempting to establish their footing within the notoriously competitive acting profession, securing her vital endorsement carried an extraordinarily heavy personal cost. It was a quietly accepted rule among prominent casting directors that working alongside her required total submission to her uncompromising desire for intense, intimate companionship, trapping them in a gilded cage. The immense psychological burden of maintaining these mandated turbulent romances frequently transformed vibrant creative spaces into deeply hostile battlegrounds. Whenever an ambitious, youthful co-star valiantly attempted to enforce basic professional boundaries, her retaliatory measures were spectacularly cruel and immediate. During the fraught rehearsal period of a major 1980s television drama, her blistering fury towards a reluctant young actor brought the entire production to a sudden, horrifying halt, while veteran producers watched in complete disbelief. Experienced stage managers and fellow cast members stared at the floor in terrified silence as she ruthlessly dismantled his fragile confidence before the fully assembled crew. Relentless correspondents from Fleet Street permanently prowled the alleyways near the stage doors, acutely aware of the palpable misery radiating from her rotating cast of youthful companions. Despite the visible emotional distress permanently etched onto the faces of these exploited young gentlemen, influential television executives deliberately chose to maintain absolute, unwavering ignorance. Ultimately, this insatiable compulsion to forcefully dominate the younger generation of British actors left a profound and indelible stain upon her otherwise magnificent artistic legacy. The relentless pursuit of absolute professional control through coerced affection severely isolated her during the bleakly lonely later stages of her tumultuous life. Before she passed away tragically, the theatrical establishment she once firmly terrorized had largely abandoned her entirely. The unspoken reality remains a chilling tragedy of shattered aspirations and permanently broken young men. Joan Greenwood, possessing a distinctively husky voice and an alluringly feline presence, she effortlessly conquered the grandest venues of the British theatrical landscape. Audiences nationwide were completely mesmerized by her sophisticated comedic timing and her highly celebrated dramatic turns on the silver screen. Her unique elegance established her as an unforgettable icon of the 20th century entertainment industry. To the adoring public, she represented a magnificent cultural force who dominated the West End with her absolute and undeniable artistic brilliance. Concealed safely away from the admiring gaze of devoted ticket holders, a significantly darker dynamic governed her private professional empire behind the heavy velvet curtains. For attractive young gentlemen urgently attempting to secure their foundational roles within the notoriously competitive acting circuit, capturing her vital attention carried a dangerously high personal cost. It was a universally understood rule among prominent producers that starring opposite this leading lady demanded complete surrender to her appetite for intense, intimate companionship. The crushing psychological weight of enduring these mandatory turbulent romances constantly threatened to transform joyous creative environments into terrifying battlegrounds. Whenever a courageous, youthful colleague attempted to politely decline her forceful nighttime invitations, the atmosphere on the studio floor would instantaneously turn toxic. During the notoriously chaotic production of a major 1970s period piece, her escalating frustration with a resistant supporting actor culminated in a spectacularly vicious dressing down before the entire crew. Seasoned camera operators and fellow performers looked away in terrified silence as she systematically destroyed the poor young man's reputation with razor-sharp insults. Ferocious journalists representing the Fleet Street establishment constantly loitered around her private dressing room, perfectly sensing the palpable anxiety radiating from her chosen male companions. Despite the overwhelming evidence of severe emotional distress permanently marking these exploited young performers, the broader broadcasting network deliberately decided to completely ignore the situation. Consequently, this relentless pursuit of absolute dominance over her younger colleagues left a complex and deeply conflicted historical legacy behind her. Although she maintained her formidable status as an iconic figure until she tragically passed away, the bitter trail of broken careers she left in her wake remained a closely guarded industry secret. The very same ruthless mechanisms she employed to conquer the notoriously difficult entertainment world eventually alienated those who genuinely cared for her. Many former protégés vanished completely from the public eye. Maxine Audley. Gracing the most illustrious stages of the British theatrical establishment, she commanded absolute authority with her strikingly regal demeanour and piercing intellect. Audiences throughout the nation were entirely captivated by her monumental classical performances and her highly distinguished appearances across the national broadcasting network. Her flawless diction and imposing presence firmly established her as a truly formidable queen of the mid-20th century acting profession. To the adoring public, she represented the glorious pinnacle of sophisticated dramatic excellence. Hidden safely away from the admiring applause of dedicated theatre-goers, a profoundly tyrannical system of control operated within her fiercely guarded private domain. For tremendously handsome young gentlemen attempting to navigate the unforgiving landscape of the West End, drawing her powerful gaze was a uniquely terrifying prospect. It was a hushed but universally accepted truth among casting directors that working alongside this theatrical titan demanded total submission to her insatiable appetite for intimate companionship. Refusal meant absolute professional banishment. The crushing psychological toll of maintaining these mandatory turbulent romances frequently transformed vibrant rehearsal rooms into desperately hostile environments. Whenever an ambitious, youthful colleague bravely attempted to assert standard professional boundaries against her forceful, nighttime propositions, her vindictive retaliation was instantaneous and spectacular. During the notoriously difficult preparation for a major 1970s classical revival, her escalating rage towards an unyielding supporting actor brought the entire production to an excruciating standstill. Veteran stage managers and fellow cast members stared blankly at the floor in completely terrified silence as she ruthlessly mocked his acting capabilities before the entire assembled crew. Vicious correspondence from the Fleet Street tabloids permanently hovered around her dressing room corridors, perfectly sensing the palpable misery radiating from her trapped youthful companions. Despite the overwhelming evidence of severe emotional distress permanently marking these exploited young performers, influential television executives deliberately maintained complete and utter ignorance. Ultimately, this relentless pursuit of absolute professional dominance through coerced affection left a remarkably dark stain upon her otherwise magnificent historical legacy. The constant necessity to forcefully subjugate the promising youth of the British stage profoundly isolated her during the lonely twilight years of her illustrious career. While prestigious academic archives continue to rightfully praise her undeniable brilliance beneath the theatrical spotlights, the unspoken reality remains a chilling tragedy. Many former protégés vanished entirely, their spirits broken forever. Rachel Roberts. Emerging from the provinces to conquer the British entertainment landscape, she was universally celebrated as a fierce cinematic talent. Audiences were mesmerized by her passionate performances that burned brightly across the silver screen throughout the 1960s. To the dedicated viewing public, she represented a raw and untamed theatrical force, winning major national acting accolades and commanding absolute respect from prominent critics. Her unique ability to project profound vulnerability made her an undeniable titan of the 20th century art scene. Far removed from the glamorous premieres and the roaring applause of devoted theatregoers, an immensely destructive dynamic governed her private professional interactions. For handsome young gentlemen desperately striving to establish a solid reputation within the unforgiving metropolitan acting circuit, drawing her intense focus was a uniquely perilous situation. It was a terrifyingly open secret among veteran casting directors that appearing alongside her demanded absolute submission to her relentless appetite for turbulent romantic entanglement. Refusal guaranteed immediate professional exile. The suffocating psychological pressure of maintaining these mandated intimate relationships inevitably turned productive filming locations into impossibly hostile battlegrounds. Whenever a courageous, youthful co-star valiantly attempted to establish strict professional boundaries against her forceful nighttime demands, her emotional retaliation was devastatingly explosive. During the chaotic production of a major 1970s motion picture, her screaming fury directed at an unyielding young supporting actor forced the entire cinematic project into a horrifying standstill while producers watched in despair. Seasoned camera operators and fellow cast members stared blankly at the studio floor in totally terrified silence as she ruthlessly shattered the young man's fragile confidence. Vicious correspondence from the Fleet Street tabloids permanently circled her private trailers, perfectly sensing the palpable misery radiating from her trapped youthful companions. despite the overwhelming evidence of severe emotional distress permanently marking these exploited young performers, influential executives at the National Broadcasting Network deliberately maintained complete silence to protect their highly lucrative star. Ultimately, this tragic compulsion to forcefully dominate the younger generation of aspiring actors left a terribly dark stain upon her otherwise magnificent historical legacy. The constant necessity to aggressively consume the vibrant youth around her profoundly isolated her, leading to deep psychological despair during the lonely later stages of her tumultuous life. Before she tragically lost her life, the theatrical establishment she once fiercely terrorized had largely abandoned her entirely. Many promising male talents she callously manipulated eventually fled the industry, their creative spirits permanently broken. Beryl Reid, captivating audiences across the vibrant British theatrical landscape, she was celebrated as a remarkably versatile comedic and dramatic powerhouse. Millions of loyal fans adored her eccentric television appearances and highly acclaimed stage performances throughout the 1960s and 1970s. To the general public, she represented a beloved national treasure, radiating a delightfully mischievous charm that effortlessly won over domestic audiences and cemented her undeniable status within the 20th century entertainment industry. Concealed safely behind the heavy velvet curtains of her prestigious theatrical engagements, a drastically different and deeply controlling dynamic governed her professional sphere. For handsome young gentlemen desperately attempting to establish their fledgling careers within the competitive West End, attracting her powerful attention was an incredibly dangerous proposition. It was a terrifyingly open secret among veteran casting directors that securing a vital supporting role alongside her required absolute submission to her relentless demands for intense, intimate companionship. The crushing psychological weight of maintaining these mandatory turbulent romances frequently transformed joyful rehearsal spaces into impossibly hostile battlegrounds. Whenever an ambitious, youthful colleague bravely attempted to assert standard professional boundaries against her forceful nighttime propositions, her vindictive retaliation was spectacular and immediate. During the notoriously chaotic preparation for a major 1980s television broadcast, her escalating fury towards an unyielding young actor brought the entire production to an excruciatingly painful standstill. Veteran stage managers and fellow cast members stared blankly at the studio floor in totally terrified silence as she ruthlessly mocked his acting capabilities before the entirely assembled crew. Relentless correspondence from the Fleet Street tabloids permanently hovered around her dressing room corridors, perfectly sensing the palpable misery radiating from her trapped youthful companions. Despite the overwhelming evidence of severe emotional distress permanently marking these exploited young performers, influential television executives deliberately maintained complete ignorance. Ultimately, this relentless pursuit of absolute professional dominance through coerced affection left a remarkably dark stain upon her otherwise magnificent historical legacy. The constant necessity to forcefully subjugate the promising youth of the British stage profoundly isolated her during the lonely twilight years of her illustrious career. While prestigious academic archives continue to rightfully praise her undeniable brilliance beneath the theatrical spotlights, the unspoken reality remains a chilling tragedy of shattered aspirations and permanently broken young men.